Broken Chain by Gary Soto. Alfonso sat on the porch trying to push his crooked teeth to where he thought they belonged. He hated the way he looked. Last week he did 50 sit-ups a day, thinking he would burn those already apparent ripples on his stomach to even deeper ripples, dark ones. So when he went swimming at the canal next summer, girls in cutoffs would notice, and the guys would think that he was tough, someone who could take a punch and give it back. He wanted cuts, like those he had seen on a calendar of an Aztec warrior standing on a pyramid with a woman in his arms. The calendar hung above the cash register at El Plaza. Orissa, the owner, said Alfonso could have the calendar at the end of the year if the waitress Yolanda didn't take it first. Alfonso studied the magazine pictures of rock stars for hairstyle. He liked the way the prince looked, and the bass player from Los Lobos. Alfonso thought he would look cool with his hair razored into a V in the back and streaked purple. He knew his mother wouldn't go for it, and his father, who was pure Mexican, would sit in the chair after work, sullen as a toad, and call him sissy. Alfonso didn't dare color his hair, but one day he had it butched at the top like in the magazines. His father had come home that evening from a softball game, happy that his team had drilled 4 homers in a 13-5 bashing of color tile. He'd swaggered into the living room, but had stopped cold when he saw Alfonso and asked, not joking but with real concern, "Did you hurt your head at school?" Alfonso had pretended not to hear his father and had gone to his room, where he studied his hair from all angles in the mirror. He liked what he saw until he smiled and realized for the first time that his teeth were crooked, like a pile of wrecked cars. He grew depressed and turned away from the mirror. He sat on his bed and leafed through the rock magazines until he came upon the rock star with the butch top. His mouth was closed, but Alfonso was sure his teeth weren't crooked. Alfonso didn't want to be the handsomest kid at school, but he was determined to be better looking than average. The next day he spent his lawn mowing money on a new shirt and a pocket knife, scooped the moons of dirt from under his fingernails. He spent hours in front of the mirror, trying to herd his teeth into place with his thumb. He asked his mother if he could have braces, like Frankie Manila, her godson, but he asked at the wrong time. She was at the kitchen table, licking the envelope to the house payment. She glared up at him. "Do you think money grows on trees?" His mother clipped coupons from magazines and newspapers, kept a vegetable garden in the summer, and shopped at Penny's and Kmart. Their family ate a lot of frijoles, which was okay because nothing else tasted so good. Though one time Alfonso had Chinese pot stickers and thought they were the next best food in the world. He didn't ask his mother for braces again, even when she was in a better mood. He decided to fix his teeth by pushing on them with his thumb. After breakfast that Saturday, he went to his room, closed the door quietly, turned on the radio, and pushed for 3 hours straight. He pushed for 10 minutes, rested for 5, and every half hour during a radio commercial, checked to see if he had improved. It hadn't. Eventually he grew bored and went outside with an old gym sock to wipe down his bike, a 10-speed from Montgomery Ward. His thumbs were tied and wrinkled and pink, and the way they got when he stayed in the bathtub too long. Alfonso's older brother, Ernie, rode up on his Montgomery Ward-looking bicycle, depressed. He parked his bike against the peach tree and sat on the back steps, keeping his head down and stepping on ants that came too close. Alfonso knew better than to say anything when Ernie looked mad. He turned his bike over, balancing it on the handlebars and and flossed the spokes with a sock. When he finished, he pressed his knuckle to his teeth until they tingled. Ernie groaned and said, "Aw, man." Alfonso waited before asking, "What's the matter?" He pretended to not be interested. He picked up a wad of steel wool and continued cleaning out the spokes. Ernie hesitated, not sure if Alfonso would laugh, but it came out. "Those girls didn't show up, and you better not laugh." "What girls?" Then Alfonso remembered his brother bragging about he and Frosty met 2 girls from King Canyon Junior High last week on Halloween night. They were dressed as gypsies, the costume for all poor chinchillas. They just had to borrow scarves and gaudy red lipstick from their abuelas. Alfonso walked over to his brother. He compared their 2 bikes. He gleamed like a handful of dimes, while Ernie's looked dirty. "They said we were supposed to wait at the corner, but they didn't show up. Me and Frosty waited and waited. They were playing games with us." Alfonso thought that was a pretty dirty trick, but sort of funny too. He would have had to try that someday. "Were they cute?" Alfonso asked. "I guess so. Do you think you could recognize them?" "If they were wearing red lipstick, maybe." Alfonso sat with his brother in silence, both of them smearing ants with their floppy high tops. Girls could sure act weird, especially the ones you meet on Halloween. Later that night, Alfonso sat on the porch, pressing his teeth. Press, relax, press, relax. His portable radio was on, but not loud enough to make Mr. Rojas come down the steps and wave his cane at him. Alfredo's father drove up. Alfredo could tell by the way he sat in his truck, a day sun with a different color front fender, that his team had lost their softball game. Alfonso got off the porch in a hurry. He knew his father would be in a bad mood. He went to the backyard where he unlocked his bike, sat on it with the kickstand down. He pressed on his teeth. He punched himself in the stomach and growled, "Cuts." Then he patted his butch and whispered, "Fresh." After a while, Alfonso pedaled up the street, hands in pocket, towards Foster's Freeze, where he was chased by a rat-like chinchilla. At his old school, John Burroughs Elementary, he found a kid hanging upside down at the top of a barbed wire fence with a girl looking up at him. Alfonso skidded to a stop and helped the kid untangle his pants from the barbed wire. The kid was grateful. He had been afraid he would have to stay up there all night. His sister, who was Alfonso's age, was also grateful. If she had to go home and tell her mother that Frankie was stuck on a fence and couldn't get down, she would get scolded. "Thanks," she said. "What's your name?" Alfonso remembered her from her school and noticed that she was kind of cute with ponytails and straight teeth. "Alfonso, you go to my school, huh?" "Yeah, I've seen you around. You live nearby?" "Over on Madison." "My uncle used to live on that street, but he moved to Stockton." "Stockton's near Sacramento, isn't it?" "You've been there?" "No." Alfonso looked down at his shoes. He wanted to say something clever, the way people do on TV, but the only thing he could say was that the governor lived in Sacramento. As soon as he shared this conversation, he went inside. Alfonso walked with the girl and the boy, and they started for home. They didn't talk much. Every few steps, the girl whose name was Sandra would look at him out of the corner of her eye, and Alfonso would look away. He learned that she was in 7th grade, just like him, and that she had a pet terrier named Queenie.